I think we just go live this morning because we could be here for a while, couldn't we? What a night last night, the late show when it comes to transfers and Celtic Football Club. They did leave it late last night to what a night last night to announce to the world that we finally got in a right winger. I'm going to try and get through as many of the comments this morning, but let me get through the the main points of the events last night. And then I'm going to go through the players also that we had talks with and negotiations failed. And it's only some of the players because I've only got some of the players on the system. I should have kept on adding the ones that we entered into talks to, and the talks ultimately fell through, collapsed for whatever reason. But the big news last night is Celtic finally did make some announcements. We'll run through the timeline of yesterday and on Celtic's Twitter feed. I think that's the easiest way to do it. We'll just do this, try and get up there. So yeah, it all kicked off yesterday. You could say that the first announcement of the day was that the Celtic Hibernian match will now be played on Sunday, the 22nd of February. Kick-off at 3 p.m. That one was expected because of the Europa games. Then came the first announcement of the day. It was a bit later than anticipated, but oh Jesus, we've just lost it altogether. There we go. Got it back. Celtic are delighted to announce the signing of Austrian internationalist Junior Adamu, who has joined the club on loan until the end of the season, subject to international clearance. And you're thinking, perfect, that's us. We're off and running. We're at the races. No, we weren't. That was us just stumbling along. Excuse me. Right, what are you doing? That was us just stumbling along on transfer window day. So Celtic decided to milk it for as much as they could, even though that they had two players in the building. One player who ultimately failed his medical. But as you could see, Celtic were milking it for all they can with the socials. With the new number 9. Now, there was a couple of people that had left the club by this point, and we got the interviews and everything. I'm dangerous in the box and hungry for goals. Well, I hope he is dangerous in the box because Celtic, through the majority of the window, were after one player. Or were Martin O'Neill, Fozzie even went to see the player. Now, when you see the goals that the players scored, let me just get this on the big screen. Let's down it. When you see the goal that this guy scored, this is a cracking header. Now, he might not be an answer, but he knows how to score goals in Scottish football. Motherwell gets there. Here comes the cross. About now, this is it. This is the cross. Look at this. Floats it in. Boom. In the back of the net. I mean, he's got his back to goal. He's got his back to goal. Look at that. Back to goal, and he still gets it over the keeper in the back of the net. Yet we never put a bid in for him. You can understand why they don't want to sell the player. You know, you can understand, and he's doing a little cheeky Henrik thing there, maybe trying to get the admiration of Celtic fans before the next window opens. We'll leave that there, young man. That look belongs to a legend at Celtic. You never know, you might become a legend next year at Celtic. But then he wasn't finished. He wasn't finished. No. Here comes his second goal. Here comes his second goal. Or is this the same one? No, this is his second goal. Takes it well, chips it over the keeper. You've got to say, it's no wonder Anderlecht came in for him. I mean, the touch is good. He touches it inside and then touches it with his left, takes it with his right, chips it over the keeper, smooth as you can. in the back of the net, and then does a wee dance to the camera because he knows the camera's watching him. Cocky. He's not the biggest of chaps, but he's fast. But he is fast. And that's what Celtic missed out on the window. We were crying out for it. But ultimately, Celtic decided that they were, well, Motherwell decided they weren't going to go for him. Fair enough, you're thinking. Do you know, fair enough. So we were waiting on a right winger coming in. We got our striker in Junior. Um, uh, and at the same time, Johnny Kenny left to go to Bolton. So we knew that that deal was going to go through. We kind of had a thought yesterday morning that if we get another striker and Johnny Kenny will be way down the pecking order. You've got Tam the Czech, you've got Kelechi Iheanacho, you've got this new guy that's came in, and then you've got Callum Osmond and Johnny Kenny. The numbers just weren't adding up for me. So Johnny Kenny needs game time, needs to improve. Johnny Kenny was never meant to be a number one, number two striker at Celtic this year. He was meant to be number three at best. Good luck to Johnny Kenny. Hopefully he goes on, kicks on as a player, gets some good game time down in Bolton, comes back up next season, gives the manager something to think about in the summer. That's all that you can ask for Johnny Kenny. I think that they had a bit of adverse pressure put on him as a player. Now, Celtic weren't done there and then yet, were they? Because young Toby left Celtic on a permanent transfer. Now, this is an interesting one because when we managed to take him away from Tottenham Hotspur, and at the time, it was a massive deal. And I'm just wondering if in years to come, that this guy will be a fantastic keeper. A bit like one that Celtic let go in their younger days, and he went on to have a fantastic career. He was Scottish as well, makes it even worse. Toby isn't, but good luck to Toby. And then the late news last night, late show last night. Celtic are delighted to announce the signing of Benjamin Arthur on loan from Brentford until the end of the season. Now, there is no option to buy with this one. The guy was just signed. He was just signed by Brentford this summer. He has a contract until 2031. 2031. We've known the whole window. We've known for a month. We've known since Martin O'Neill, before Martin O'Neill was here, that we needed cover in the centre back area. We knew that we were short of Cameron Carter-Vickers, was out to the end of the season. We knew we had to bring someone in, and we didn't early on. We were linked with maybe one defender through the whole window, and then we bring in this guy late show, which allowed Stephen Welsh to then leave the club and go back to Motherwell. And I tell you one thing, Motherwell are over the moon, completely over the moon. The first tweet that they put out is right. Where were we? I like that. It's a nice little pre-tweet to Stephen Welsh returning to Motherwell. I like their marketing. It's way better than Celtic's. And then says, welcome back. Patience is virtue. Welcome back, Stephen. And you've got to say fair play to him because Stephen Welsh has actually been playing quite well at Liverpool. Back in the Claret and Amber on January business is complete. Good to have you back, Stephen. Deal done. And then they have a little montage of. I'm forced to the fire. I'm feeling like. Hey, can I be having that? And there's Welsh with his headband on. And then they even have Stephen Welsh scoring. You know, Stephen Welsh was having the time of his life at Motherwell. Fair play to him. Motherwell might be his standard, but he just wants to play football. Do you know? And I think that Celtic pissed him. I think Celtic ultimately brought him back so they could try and use him as a bit of a deal. I mean, that players always, people will say, God, he looks good in that montage. And it just shows you how players do look good in a montage. They can make Stephen Welsh look good. I'm sure that there is a goal here towards the end. I mean, there's him playing against The Rangers. Good wee block and tackle there by Welshie. Do you know, it's bonkers. No, it's not. There's not goal. The player who ultimately, it's funny because when you look at the contrast between the way that Motherwell announced the player, um, Celtic just said, we're delighted to announce, there's no, not, it was just fucking plain, just there, we're announcing it. Um, where Motherwell teased the situation. Right, where were we? First tweet, welcome back. You could say that Motherwell were milking it, but Celtic were, I think the social media team at that time of night last night, we must have been just thinking, fuck me. I'd like to know what the social media team think, because they're sitting up late and they're sitting away on their keyboards and they're thinking, are we just going to get this done? Are we just going to do it? Is it going to fall through? But anyway, Celtic just came straight in with an interview. They didn't even tell us he was here. They just came. Oh, they did. They must have done that one first, and then they pinned that one at the top. So apologies, Celtic. You did that. We are delighted to announce the signing of Norwegian winger Joe Movuka, who's joined the club on loan from Lorient until the end of the season, subject to international clearance, with having the option to buy. And why have we got an option to buy? Because back in when he joined Lorient, um, 3 years ago or so, he went through a medical then, and they found that he failed his medical. He has a heart issue. Now, the heart issue is nothing to worry about. He'll have a fine career, and he'll get his heart checked. He probably gets his heart checked every 6 months, every 3 or 4 months. I know someone with the same kind of condition, and it is nothing to worry about. But Celtic were well within the right to then renegotiate the deal, and that's what Celtic did. They renegotiated the deal, so it wasn't an automatic buy. Remember yesterday we were all thinking that we are going to buy the player for 3 million. They're now loaning the player with the option to buy. So some people will say, well, it's a good end to the window. It's not putting any pressure on the next manager. We're not signing a player that could maybe take a heart attack. I don't think that he will. I mean, he's been playing football, so. But anyway, the fans will all have their say on it. And then late last night, also there was the little, uh, 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 it's basically a heart murmur chill. It can sort itself out. My other half had it. It's the valve just doesn't thingy right. You can get it if it gets to a stage, you can get heart valve replacement done if it's the same thing. If not, medication usually takes care of it, and then you can come off the medication. He's obviously came off the medication, but when you do a full ECG, it can still come up on the ECG. Now you've got to remember they'll be doing I don't know, a 24-point ECG or something. It's not like just a couple of things. They'll get a full ECG. So if it is, they said it was coming on the one where he failed for Lorient. It was a heart murmur. Lots of people have it. It's I don't think it's anything to worry about. It's prudent of Celtic to put put it through as a loan deal. Try before you buy, or try before he dies. Bad joke. It's Monday morning. It's not. It's Tuesday. I don't even know what day of the week it is. And thank you to everyone who tuned in yesterday. It was an absolutely epic day, and thank you to all the new subscribers from yesterday also. But anyway, we have 750 games in England and 50 caps for Scotland. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not a big deal, but when it's flagged during a medical, you can understand exactly. But anyway, Celtic then late last night it broke on Sky News that Celtic were interested in a player that once, I think his total value at one point was 40 million. I think he was sold for 22 million or something. But he's currently training with Arsenal, and it looks like Celtic may be in a fight with. He's been training with Arsenal for a while, and I don't know why. I mean, will Arsenal make him an offer? But with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, the fuck is that noise? Being a free agent, has been suggested that Celtic may go because Celtic were looking for a midfielder through this window. But it said last night, according to Sky Sports, that Celtic are considering a freebie deal that would their main rivals would be Arsenal to give us a bit of oomph in that midfield. Now, if he does come in, do we get him in now so that he's able for the Europa game? But anyway, I'm not too sure. Right, let's get on to the list of players that we are in talks with because there was obviously a lot of deals. There were players that Martin O'Neill was asked about at the weekend on Sunday, and he said that we were close, and those deals ultimately fell through. I need to change this. And Shin Yamada was put out on loan also. Yes, Shin Yamada was sent to uh, the second division. The second division. That was another strange one. And Hatatu Inamura was also sent out on loan also. Right, let me just change this screen to this one. Players. Now, this will give us a list of players that we've been linked with. Now, this one is one that they were wanting the Geddes, Gedimus, 23-year-old Celtic were told that they were going to have to pay 6 million for the player. Celtic said no, and then it's been suggested that Celtic went back late on transfer deadline day and said that they would pay the 6 million, and the player had already made his mind up to stay at his club by that point because Celtic were ultimately mucking him about. Now, early on in the window, we were linked with Kyogo Furiashi. There we go. We were linked with Kyogo Furiashi. Who wasn't fancied at Birmingham at the time. Celtic asked the question, and Kyogo said, "No, I want to try and stay at Birmingham, and face the music, and try and get into the Birmingham team." And then there was another one that we were linked with, a Chelsea player. I don't know if I think he actually did. Did he move in the end? Fofana. We were linked with Fofana, a loan deal or with an option to buy. That one didn't seem to come to anything. You're thinking, well, maybe this is this guy that we've brought in from Chelsea. He looks as if it could be something to do with him. And then we were linked with Big Tam the Czech from Borussia Mönchengladbach. And we did get that one in the door. We did get Big Tam the Czech in the door. He's had 2 games he started. For at Celtic. He's played against Hearts, and then he scored in his second game at the weekend. And you're thinking, okay, fine. We do have, I think the option, the market value says 2.25 million, but Celtic have the option to buy him for 6.5 million, I believe, which is absolutely crazy. And then there was the guy from Crystal Palace that we were linked with also, and that one didn't go through either, as we know, because the window is shut. He ended up moving anyway, but we could fair with that. And then there was an Italian under 21 that we were moved, that we were linked with also. And then there was boy Anderson that we were linked with. That was one that looked as if it may go through, and that didn't. Michael Nicholson does have a lot to answer for. And then there was another one, movie, Nigerian, that we were also in talks with, and that didn't come to anything. There was numerous other players. Obviously, there was the Martin O'Neill went to look at the Motherwell player, and you've got to say his stats are phenomenal. You know, 19 goals for the season or something, 18, 19 goals for the season. Came through Leicester. I mean, came through the ranks at Leicester. You would think that early on, before he went to Motherwell, you would think that that's one that Brendan Rodgers would have picked up on. But then again, Brendan Rodgers has no interest in playing youth players. Um, we now know this. He was just a complete con man and didn't fancy it. And then we brought in some players late yesterday, which made the window a little bit better. It does mean that we do have 5 players in total. My target was 7. I wasn't far off it. I still think that we needed another 2 players. I think we needed another central defender, and I think that we needed also a midfield player. Now, if we go and get Chamberlain on a free till the end of the season, some people might think, it's been a good window. It doesn't put too much pressure on Martin O'Neill. It doesn't put too much pressure on the next manager. There's a stark realization of in this window that Martin O'Neill is he's not going to be here next season. We know this. Martin O'Neill has said it. It's going to be a fantastic. It's going to be a fantastic interview this afternoon because I think Martin O'Neill will be asked questions. About will he be asked questions about players that the deals didn't go through with, and will he be asked why those deals didn't go through? Martin O'Neill will say, "Look, it's nothing to do with me. It's fucking people upstairs." And then there was the highlight yesterday, the big moment where Celtic did get an offer. Now, Chris Boyd was on Sky yesterday, and as bitter as Chris Boyd does come over, he said that Nottingham Forest got off with one by not buying Arnie Engels. Now, they did come in with one offer, and then they upped their offer to 20 million plus add-ons. It was too late in the window for that deal to go through. If that deal had been earlier in the window, and Celtic could have got a replacement in. Thank you for the super chat, Danny, this morning. I think if that bid had came in a week ago, I think that Celtic would have pushed for their valuation. Do you know? I've just seen. But anyway, yeah. So if lost my train of thought there, it's because I'm reading the comments. I need to switch the comments off. It's just a distraction. But anyway, yes, the bid from Nottingham Forest, Celtic turned that down. They had around about an hour to play with, but there was no chance of them getting anyone in. So by then, it was far too late. You're looking at bargain basement stuff and talking about bargain basement stuff. Let me just save this. I'm going to have to edit it though. Oh no, wait a minute. I know what I can do. By the powers. Oh, come on, come on, come on. I'm going to get this picture up because it is an absolute scream. And I'm sure a lot of you will find the humorous side of this morning because we, as Celtic fans, always look on the bright side of life. Let me just close that down. And then we'll get this picture up. I'm going to leave it up actually, because this pretty much sums up the Celtic transfer window, doesn't it? We'll make it full screen just to start with. There obviously is the fans outside the supermarket. Um, full price transfers this way. Clearance 500k projects, loans, last minute bargain deals. And there's the cheap button, and it's the Three Stooges. It's the Three Stooges. That was quite funny. I got sent that first thing this morning. But yeah, I think we'll leave that up there. Poor Martin's going to get covered up for the Three Stooges this morning. But anyway, so was it a good window or not? That is the main thing. Was it a good window? it's a hard one because on paper you would say, look, we've got 5 players in, so we've improved the squad. You'll see that Martin O'Neill will be happy for him. He'll be happy for the fact that he's got players in to try and help this push to the end of the season. Ultimately, we've got a rebuild in the summer. We've got a complete rebuild of the squad in the summer because the Arne Engels has now had his he's had his eyes maybe letting up the fact that there are, thank you for the super chat this morning, mate. Coming out of Australia, Australian dollar. Have a pint on me, Baz. You're like, you need it. After yesterday, I needed more than a pint. I'm glad there was no drink in the house yesterday because I think I would have ended up just getting hammered. But anyway, yes, yeah, I think I would have just got hammered live on air. But getting back to it, the transfer window, 5 players coming in. Martin O'Neill will kind of be happy with that. Martin O'Neill said a couple of weeks, about a week and a half ago, that he was expecting maybe 2 or 3 in the window in total. I said at the beginning, I thought we needed 7 to make the squad better. We're getting 5. It shows that the board were doing the work. Now, there's a big decision to be made tonight because the Celtic Fans Collective are having a meeting tonight with the way forward. Now, there'll be people who will sit in online and say, look, it's been a good window in a hard market. And people that will back the side of the board, and then there'll be people that say, look, it was too little, too late from the Celtic hierarchy. We should have got players in well before the Hearts game. I think Martin O'Neill screaming out, Guardia Civil helicopter scanning the shoreline. Martin O'Neill wanted players in before the Hearts game. I know that we got a player sent off, and that ultimately made the difference to that game. We could have won it with the players that we had if we'd kept everyone on the pitch. I think we need a little bit more physicality in the midfield. I think that the players that have come in will do, hopefully, they'll do well for us. Martin's the one that's had the last say on these players coming in, so he obviously thinks that the profile of the players, him and Sean Maloney and Fozzie, think that the profile of these players are players that definitely can do the job for Celtic until the end of the season. Now, do the Celtic Fans Collective ramp up their action against the board, put pressure on Michael Nicholson and co to do the right thing and resign? They will say that they did a good job in trying circumstances. Comes down to Michael Nicholson will get a pat on the back and say, well played, mate. You turned down 25 million. Or he's going to have someone with a sniper sitting outside Celtic Park on the top of Emirates Stadium waiting to take him out because Dermot Desmond's sitting over one of his lackeys, and he's just thinking, 25 million, we better win something because the Celtic books at the end of this financial year will have a massive dent in it because there's not been any Champions League. So we're, say, a conservative estimate that we're 30 million down from that. The money that comes in from the Europa does not make up for that. We're looking to make 10, 11, 12 million from the Europa. So there's a 20 million deficit in the accounts. The wage bill is high. We've just taken on another 5 players. What will that have done to the wage bill? We've shipped out 3 players. Shipped out 4 players, sorry. Shin Yamada, Stephen Welsh. My head's up the ass this morning. Who's the 4 players that were shipped out? Yamada, Welsh, Kenny, and Hatat Inamura. That's the 4 players that were shipped out. And then we got rid of a B team player. I think there's been a couple of B team players, but there's 4 from the main squad. So the wages wouldn't have changed too much because you're only taking on a percentage. When you bring someone on loan, you're not paying the full wage. You're only paying a percentage of the wage. So we might actually be a little bit better off with the wage bill because you've got that sort of Johnny Kenny must have been on about £5 a week, surely. He wouldn't have been on big wages. Inamura, not on big wages. Shin Yamada, not in big wages. It's not making a great dent into it. But anyway, there will be that shortfall come the end of the season. 25 million could have covered that up. Even though that Arne Engel's team, his previous team, had a 15 to 20% sell-on clause when Celtic sold Arne Engels on. Now, Arne Engels was always brought in to be sold for 25 million plus. That doesn't matter what you say. You know, people will have their yeah, and then you've got compensation. I don't think there is compensation for Brendan Rodgers because Brendan Rodgers walked, and it's not like the last time when Brendan Rodgers had to sign a document back in 2019 or whenever it was, when Brendan left to go to Leicester, and he signed a document to say that he cannot reveal what happened on. He was hushed. He was hushed. Um, Maybe he did sign a document, but anyway, he had other plans. Brendan, we know that, and he's now in the place that he ultimately wanted to be. Wilfred Nancy, I think Wilfred Nancy cost us 1.2 million for 33 days' work. And then there's the compensation that Celtic paid to the club. So you could be in the region of maybe there's another 5 million that's lost out the club. So looking at the finances of the club from the business perspective, Michael Nicholson has not had a good year again. You know, take aside transfer dealings and his inability to conclude negotiations in a timely manner. People say anyone that's pro board will say that Michael Nicholson did a great deal last night in renegotiating the contract for the player that we were going to spend 3 million on. They've renegotiated that to a loan till the end of the season with the option to buy. It's not an obligation to buy. Now that's the word, and that's the easy way. Baz, does any of that matter when you're sitting with 70 million in the bank? Says Brown Warrior. The 70 million in the bank, Peter Lawwell said this years ago. The 70 million in the bank will be to make sure that there is a big chunk of capital in Celtic's funds to be able to go out and buy players when necessary to try and get us back into the Champions League. They take the hit. Now, 70 million in the bank, you might say, people were putting out ridiculous comments that, oh, Celtic are banking the cash so they could sell the club. Who's going to sell a business that's got sitting with 70 million in the bank? You tend to sell a business when there's no money in the bank. You're giving away the money for free. You know, but I think that Celtic have to look at the way that the club has been run. Now, the fans are upset. Getting back to the meeting for the Celtic Fans Collective tonight, there's people online that are saying, you know, boycott this and boycott that, and you know, what is the way forward. I mean, you can go into the comments from last night. And we'll show the comments on the land of Twitter just to get a varied opinion. This man got sacked for ambition, and he did. He was maybe the last man at Celtic Park who truly had a bit of ambition. And I thought I was quite proud to be a Celtic fan at that point. You know, taking a man that had been head of Scottish rugby, had done fantastic things in a business sense for Scottish rugby, and he was a Celtic fan. Add it to the mix. He wasn't from the clan of, you know, Peter Lawwell and such like. And I thought it was maybe a good thing. Celtic next summer, where 99% of the team return back to their parent club. Exactly. Sat the board. Did the board spend any money? Scrooge hanging out the window. No, they didn't. They never spent a penny. Let that sink in. We never spent a penny. Celtic have now joined the Not Another Penny campaign. Waiting until midnight until you confirm him with your pishy app has done you dirty. uh, all day the media shite has been done for 30 hours. 70 million in the bank, zero spent. For every £5 you spent, Sevco spent 15. Desmond's 35% stake must be bought before the summer Celtic Fans Collective must call for a full boycott of the Dundee Cup tie game on TV. The Livy game must also be boycotted. Nicholson's immediate removal and Green Brigade return. I think that there is a small narrative of people, and I will try and look at it from a full fan perspective rather than the narrative, because I think that there's a lot of people from outside the collective that think that the collective is too Green Brigade focused. And yes, there are a group of fans that need to be brought back into the stadium, but at the same time, I think that if you watched any of the lives last night, you'll know my thoughts on the way that I think the campaign should go forward. I thought it was a 4.5 year deal. Embarrassing. Uh, what a disaster of window. Hopefully these players can kick on and bring the league title back where it belongs. But if the board, they need chased, not another penny. Expired loan FC. Happy with this one. It's going to shock most supporters how good he is. He was good at his previous club, Ronby, and they did sell him for 4 million. So anyway, yes, what's happening, Joe boy? One more now for laughs, admin. Pointing to a dodgy ticker. Got to hand it to the boards. Been outspent by St Johnston, and I've got to say, just jump back up onto this screen. This morning, putting it into perspective, there's £1 from Danny Cassie and $7.99 Australian dollars. I've just received more than what Celtic have spent in the transfer window. Thank you for supporting the channel, guys. Where do we go from here? This is the big thing. Now we are running a poll, and I am going to put forward to the Celtic Fans Collective tonight in the meeting that maybe an online petition was put forward to the channel by Jim Lister, that maybe Celtic could go down the road of an online petition before escalating things, and I come up with the slogan of "Do the right thing, resign," and I think that should be rather than sack the board, because the sack the board campaign is obviously the campaign from the 1990s. It's not like Train Spotting where you just refurbish the old choose life scenario. I think that do the right thing, resign, and it's doing the right thing for the football club. Forest won't come back in for Engels if they're relegated. Yeah, I'm not expecting Forest to come back in for Engels. I think Arnie Engels will have his height. He could have went. He could have went to Germany and not been near a relegation battle. The Germans came in, and you've got to remember that wasn't the first bid for Arnie Engels during the window. We did have a 10 million bid earlier on from Germany. So, right, let's jump into some of the comments. Hearts young boy away to Spurs, and Arsenal wanted him. Good bit of business. Hearts seem to be going in the right direction compared to the Weir run. I've said before, and I only know this due to the fact that my cousin's lad has went through the Hearts Academy since he was around about 7 years old, and he's now in the B team, and he's scoring goals for fun in the B team. Scoring goals for fun. He's came up from the under 18s into the B team, and he scores at every single level. He's going to be a phenomenal player. And the fact that Hearts sold one of their young boys for, what was it, 2.5 million or something, fair play to them. Hearts Academy is way better than Celtic. As much as it pains me to say that, the Hearts Academy is way, it's years in front of Celtic. Absolute years. But they give the young players a pathway. And it's completely different to Celtic. I mean, we had Maloney as pathway manager, we had Darren O'Dean as pathway manager. They sit down with the parents, and they keep in contact with the parents, and they tell them exactly how the kid's progressing. They send them videos of the kids playing, that's not online, so that other people cannot see it. And it's just way better. It is what it is. But we move on. Um, Engels leaves Celtic to disappear into obscurity. You could say that about every player that leaves Celtic. There's not every player is a Van Dijk. You know, not every player is a Van Dijk that comes through the ranks, that comes through Celtic and gets sold on for big money. Celtic are a stepping stone. Do you know, if 25 million, 30 million in the English Premier League is a bench warmer. Do you know, there's not many Henrik Larssons coming through Celtic. You can name on one hand how many players have came to Celtic and moved on and done what you would call top level stuff. Do you know? But I mean, even Kieran Tierney, he left, went to Arsenal. He wasn't a rearing success at Arsenal. He's came back to Celtic for nothing. He went to Spain. He was injured in Spain. Do you know? I personally think that he should have went back to Spain, but he wanted to come back to Celtic and finish his career. I think there will be a shift in the board at the end of the season. I think that that's too late because there has to be movement before they pick the next manager. And we're now, whatever happens this season will happen. With Martin O'Neill in charge, I'm confident that at least we'll have a good push towards the end of the season. You know, we'll have a good run towards the end of the season. I think the damage may have been done way earlier on under Wilfred Nancy. I think that ultimately we may get players to perform over and above their ability under Martin O'Neill. Martin O'Neill says, look, doesn't matter what happens, I'm walking away at the end of the season. I definitely will not be here for the AGM next November. So the next manager that comes in has got a complete rebuild to do, a massive rebuild. Do you know, it's who does he get to come in the back? We need someone to come in and put pressure on Cameron Carter-Vickers, who cannot remain fit for a full season. Austin Trusty seems to be having the time of his life just now and seems to be one of the best defenders that we have. If an offer comes in for Trusty in the summer, now there was talk that there was German teams looking at Austin Trusty, there was Italian teams looking at Austin Trusty. You're going to have to bring in at least two good defenders in the summer. We're going to have to bring in a holding midfield player because Callum McGregor is not going to be the dominant. He is not the dominant. Callum McGregor's getting played out of position. Callum McGregor should be playing further forward on the left-hand side of the pitch, where he's always played. It's not worked out, Callum McGregor playing Mr. Pointy Pointy in the middle of the park. And I hope that we bring in a manager that feels that he doesn't need to do that and he's not his best position. You know, get him further forward and do what he does best, trying to create chances and trying to score goals from midfield. You've then got all the loan players. We've got 5 players on loan, 6, including Sriracha. It's probably more than that. I can't even remember who's all on loan now. They're all going to have to be replaced in the summer if we don't take up the option to buy. Now, the manager's got to come in and he's got to assess these players before he gives the go ahead for the option to buy. So the summer is going to be just a bad a shit show as anything. Remember when Ange Postecoglou came in, it was too early for him. He brought in a whole load of new players. It was too early for him to get into the Champions League. You know, he didn't have the squad, didn't have the group playing together, didn't have the training sessions in. You know, change of tactics, change a new manager, change new ideas. It's putting pressure on the next guy to come in and hit the ground running. So that means to do that, you've then got to go for an experienced manager. And an experienced manager costs money. An experienced manager is like hen's teeth. Because we can't go down the road of prospect type managers, Ronnie Dyler, Wilfred Nancy. You know, we can't go down that road again. Some people may say, well, there's Robbie Keane who's doing fantastic. He's got his team to the later stages in Europe. Would Robbie Keane come to Celtic? Would some Celtic fans be happy that Robbie Keane came? A lot of people may not. Um, and who do we allow to make the decision? Do we wait until there's a change at the board at the end of the season? That's too late. It's too late. Don't know. I think the PLC needs looked into. I don't think the PLC needs looked into. Um, don't know. I think it's people that are in positions that need removed. Only the big investors can be sacked. Can sack the board. There is money in the coffers. Nobody is getting sacked. Yeah, this is true. What was that confirmation? Look at that now. And yeah, there's money in the bank. Nobody's. Well, this is why I think that the campaign should deviate from sack the board to do the right thing, resign. Do you know the sack the board campaign? It sounds a bit medieval to me, but it sounds about 1990s. A revamp of the campaign to do the right thing, resign, puts a bit of moral pressure. Do you know? I don't want to go down the road of pitchforks and pickaxes and sawing off shotguns, balaclavas, and snipers on the roof to try and get rid of the boards. Let's put an ethical bit of pressure on them. Paying customers, i.e., the fans, can put that ethical pressure on people to resign. You know, when you get 50,000 Celtic fans standing up saying, stand up if you hate the board, stand up, do the right thing, resign. Do you know, if you've got the majority of the stadium standing up singing, do the right thing, resign, do the right thing, resign, that echoing round the stadium, getting picked up, doesn't matter if Celtic pan, try not to pan past the Green Brigade section when they've got a banner out saying get rid of the traitors. Do you know, I think that there has to be a rethink of the policy. Will there be a rethink? And will the people that run the Celtic Fans Collective take it on board? I have no idea. It can only be suggested. Will they even listen to my suggestion? Will they even? I mean, will my suggestion even get read out? And I think it won't. You never know. Stranger things may happen. Because I know that one of the earlier meetings that I was at, I made a few suggestions on the online thing, and they just weren't even looked at. So, what can you do? What can you do? All I can do is try and get as many people that watch these videos to try and get as many ideas as possible and then put it forward. And then ultimately, it's up to the Celtic Fans Collective to decide on the way that they want to move forward. Nicholson is a dead man walking now. He has to go, says Bobcat. Pathway manager, as a road to nowhere. Everyone knows you can keep your kids away from the Celtic Academy. It ruins careers before they began. Jamestown Analytics, streets ahead of, and Tony Bloom has shown this. Really well run club, not like ours in the dark ages. Yeah, that's correct. Stephen Donnelly, do the right thing, resign. Keep that one up there. I do think it is time for a rebrand. I think that there has to be a more efficient and modern way to put pressure on the board. People talking about boycotts, it's never going to happen. Season tickets are paid for. Do you know, Celtic will lose a couple of thousand if on pies and stuff. There needs to be an active campaign outside the ground. There needs to be an active campaign within the wider fan base so that it is not focused or looks like it's focused solely on the ultras and the ultras fans, because there's a lot of people that go to games. There's no time for the ultras. You know, they fucking they think that the ultras think that they're better than everyone else. So we have to have a campaign that encompasses everyone and that brings everyone in on board. And I think that the sack the board campaign doesn't hit home with everyone. You know, it's you'll have people that will say, well, the board are doing a fine job, but they do the right thing, resign. I might sound as if I'm repeating myself, but I do think that as a slogan going forward puts a bit more ethical pressure on the board. Shows that Nicholson is worse than Lowell. Yep. I'm going to jump through. Van Dijk cost us 2.6 million. Yep. And at the time, everyone at Celtic, when they had him in training the very first day, said, how the hell did we get this guy for 2.6 million? Celtic knew that he was destined for massive transfer. As Big Jock says, football without fans is nothing. So by boycotting sends a strong message. Instead of watching the game, we should be at the main entrance protesting. But then what happens, Gary? At the end of the game, people go and get their buses and they go home. I get what you're saying. Now, rather than a boycott, how about on the 67th minute, a big banner goes up. Several banners go up round the stadium. Michael Nicholson, Chris Mackay, do the right thing, resign. And there's a massive walkout on the 67th minute. Rather than everyone getting their phones out, 67 in the heat of Lisbon, the fans came in their thousands to see the boys become champions. And then they walk out. Walk out on the 67th minute. It's visual, it lets the board know. Now, some people will say walking out will harm the team. Some people say that ultimately harms the team. It gets the media talking. It puts pressure on the board. Do you know, protesting at the front of the stadium during a game, the board are in watching the game. There's very little people peeking through the curtains going, oh no, we better not go outside. The Celtic fans are protesting. They'll shut the curtains, wait till the game's finished, wait till everyone's away back on their buses and the buses are all gone, open the curtains back up and go, oh look, the minions have gone. How's their campaign? Sorry, they've got a campaign? Come on. In this day and age, we need to have a campaign that puts ethical pressure. I am going to go down this road of ethical pressure. And I don't think that I can understand what you're saying with the boycott, but boycotting the beginning of the game is no good. Doesn't do anything. Doesn't do anything. You have to go in and you have to have the whole stadium stand up, shouting, "Do the right thing, resign." Stand up if you hate the board. Stand up if you hate the board. Getting the whole stadium together. That puts pressure on them. That gives them a visual impact of how many people are disillusioned with them. That, along with the slogan of "Do the right thing, resign," puts ethical pressure on them. And if they don't stand up to ethical pressure, then we start escalating it to the next level. I just think that there has to be a better and an easier way so that the Celtic fan base, as a collective, can stay together on this one. Because that's what we want. That's what we need. We all want the same thing for Celtic. You know, we've got 5 players in. Yes, fantastic. Give yourself a wee pat in the back. You got 5 players in on loan. You were running about the trolley aisle in the last minute, trying to pick up bargain basements. You know, full price transfers are away out there, but not we're just going to run around and try and get loan projects, bargains, and you know, press the panic button in the shopping trolley. Ultimately, what it comes down to is the fans need to stick together more than ever on this one. There cannot be any factions. The campaign cannot be solely focused on getting the Green Brigade back in. I understand that. You know, the wider fan base knows it. Hence the reason that the collective need to come together and have an all-encompassing. We've given the board a month off. We believed the board. When Martin O'Neill came back in, the board got a freebie for a month. The board will sit and go, yeah, we did well. We brought in 5 players in this window. It's a hard window. contract negotiations are hard. Some players don't want to come to the club. Some players fail medicals and then go and sign for another club, passing a medical. Strange one, that one, isn't it? A couple of dodgy medicals over the Celtic transfer window this year, but we'll not talk about Tobai. Has he played for his team yet? But anyway, did they sell Engels? No, they didn't sell Engels. I'm going to jump through the comments. Apologies if I haven't read out all the comments. Celtic paid 432 loan fee for Adamu, so they did spend some money. Did they spend a loan fee to get him in? No, there we go. They spent 432 grand on a loan. Glad Tony's back in the board. Tony backs the board. It's fine. He says the board did spend money. Lol. He's now down at Celtic Park waiting on the doors to open to buy his merchandise and say, fuck the fucking campaign. Did Welsh go to Motherwell? Yes, Welsh did go to Motherwell. Welsh went on loan and Motherwell were over the moon with it. Completely over the moon. Nobody has resigned from the board I can remember in the last 60 years. I can remember without getting abused by fans. No, nobody has resigned from the board. The sack the board campaign. It's, you know, it's like I said, it's a revamp of the 1990s slogan from Trainspotting, choose life. And then they changed it when T2. Fantastically, the way that they changed it. You know, choose handbags, choose smartphones, choose blogging your life from fucking first minute to the last. Choose fucking whatever, you know. But anyway, let's move on. 67, that would work well. I think anxiety on the terraces hinders the team and need to stop and get behind Martin and the team. Exactly. And that's why I think that the campaign of backing the team as vocal as we can. As vocal as we can. You know, doing the stand up if you hate the board. There has to be a coordination between the fans that are in the ground. And then walking out in the 67th minute. Massive impact. Not ideal. Not ideal. I get it. But it is vocal. And if you want to make an immediate, we've played it too soft. We've played it softly to try and get these people out, and it's not going to work. Boycotts are very bad for optics and bad for sponsors. So is a walking out during a game. So is a vocal presence in the stadium to let boards, sponsors know that they're not happy with them. You have to combine the two. You know, being out before a game starts has a negative effect on the team. I don't want to have a negative effect on Martin O'Neill and the Celtic team. I do not want to have any kind of negative effect at all. I want to have the board, I want to let the board know by no uncertain means that the majority of the fans want two people out and they want change. The board will come out and say, look, we're trying to change. Back the players, sack the board. As any wonder players, managers do not want to come to Celtic anymore. Badly run, not backed, going to need an overhaul top to bottom. I'm going to say that some managers would see that as a good time to come to Celtic. Celtic have to sell the next manager on the basis that you're going to be in charge of everything. You're going to be in charge of the full football department from academy up. You set out the training methods that the academy does, the B team and the first team, so that there's a steady flow, so that everybody's playing the same style of football. Everybody knows the way that they want the players to play, and it's an easy flow. We then need to start bringing in youth players. We need to attract the best youth players that we can. We're going to have to go out and spend money on the B team. We're going to have to go and spend money to bring players in to the B team. because the academy is 5 years away from producing. So we're going to have to give money for a significant amount of money for to bring in players from the B team that are maybe disillusioned at other clubs. Um, can be done. Look at all the academy players that have left Celtic to go down south because they've seen themselves getting a pathway into the first team. We have to have an open and honest pathway manager in that helps the players go through that process, even if it means them do go out on loan for half a season. Don't put them out on loan to Admiral Wacker. Don't put them out on loan to um, you know, teams that they're never going to get seen again. You know, Celtic have put numerous players out on loan to Austria. Not one of them have made it. Not one. We put players out to Neil Lennon. Give Scott Brown a run and come up with a deal that allows Scott Brown to take some of our best youngsters and then bring them on for a year. Don't know. There is ways that it can be done, but it has to have a man at the top that is told that he gets what he wants. Then you've then got to have a board that will not fuck up negotiations. And that's what it comes down to. It comes down to Nicholson and Chris Mackay and their inability to get players in within a timely manner. And it's not even just a timely manner. It's, you know, you don't want to get insulting to these men because they're intelligent men that are doing high paid jobs. 800 grand a year is a fantastic wage. You know, there's a lot of pressure that comes with running a massive business with a turnover of over 100 million. You know, you've got pressure of, you know, the people's jobs, you've got pressure from fans, you've got pressures from managers, you've got pressure from media. Michael Nicholson doesn't speak to anybody. Celtic has been run like a dynasty, and we thought we got rid of that in the 1990s. We're getting run with someone that only owns 35% of the club, and that has to stop. We need another shareholder to buy up shares to equal, just to equal his shareholding, so that he does not get his own way anymore. It's as simple as that. You could chuck rolled paper onto the pitch, disturbing the game. Why would you want to do that? Griffiths 1 million, Wanyama 900k, Dumbelli 500k, Commons 300k. That was all before COVID, before prices went up. Don't get me started in the stadium. Taking my two kids cost me over 100 quid and trying to explain why there's no atmosphere anymore. I don't know. Transfer window was like a supermarket sweep game on TV. Chris, what do you see as an escalate to the next level? For me, we should go straight to that. I've said from the start, an escalate to the next level would be outside Celtic Park every day and putting pressure on them. And the do the right thing, resign campaign, for me, needs to be the slogan for the campaign going forward. Until you get someone people standing outside Celtic Park every morning with a big banner saying "Do the right thing, resign," it puts ethical pressure on them. It has to go down the road of ethical pressure. Can't be abusive. Can't be attacking members of staff. You know, it can't go down that road. There's easier ways, and I think that standing up in the middle of the game, it's very hard to escalate something against people that don't want to move. You know, so ethical pressure is an easier way to go. I don't know, mate. I'm old school. You know, I remember the casual era back in the 1980s. You know, you you got tooled up and went into battle. Fucking pitchfork and stuff isn't the way to go. But neither is a political campaign online. You know, I think that going down the political campaign route has been completely wrong. Stand up if you hate the board, fantastic. Walking out on the 67th minute, fantastic. It's a visual impact. Walking out in the 67th minute and then walking around to the front of the stadium gives you a visual impact. I know that people, as soon as the game's over, 50,000 Celtic fans are not going to hang around at the front of the stadium for 2 or 3 hours till the boards come out. The majority of them are going to jump in their cars. Thousands are going to jump on their buses. I know how many buses park over at the Emirates Stadium. If you've never seen it, it's a phenomenal amount of buses. I think there's about 20 rows of buses, and then it goes back around about 30 buses long. And then you've got the bus park up behind the stadium. Those guys all want a way to get their buses home. They're not going to stick around. Bus drivers are not going to stick around. Bus conveners know that if you want to go and protest at Celtic Park and you miss your bus, we don't care. The bus leaves at this time. You know, you're then putting pressure on bus conveners. Bus conveners won't do that. Coming out in the 67th minute, a massive banner saying "Do the right thing, resign." Pictures of Nicholson, Mackay, whatever, and doing that on a consistent basis. How long can they take that for? You know, sack the board campaign. Like I say, I think that's from the 1990s. Brentford player never had played the first team football. He's not here for. He's here to do the Stephen Welsh part anyway, so I'm not really on it. The loan fee is scraping the barrel. Yeah. Quinny's in the chat. Hindsight is always 2020 vision. Fan protest exactly what the team read right now. I'm not saying that there's a way to protest inside the game. We've seen that. Why against the Ultras and the Green Brigade? I'm not against the Ultras and the Green Brigade. Go back this channel to the start and you'll see that there was more videos of the Green Brigade than anybody else has ever done on the channel. I am well aware that they're part of the Celtic family, not care to single out. And I never single out the Green Brigade. And I know that there is a massive amount of I have an obligation to see it from. I can't just put my Green Brigade, my 111. I could go and show you my season tickets for 111, the standing section when it was tiny. I cannot put my Green Brigade focused Celtic glasses on and come across and just say and expect to get a majority of viewers to join in with that. Because I know and I understand that there are a lot of people that go to games that don't want to be part of the Green Brigade, that don't want to be part of a standing section. They think that the Green Brigade get some kind of special. You have to bring everyone together. So I'm not against the Ultras. I'm not against the Green Brigade. I've got a fucking Green Brigade tattoo on my leg, for fuck's sake. Get a grip. But anyway, we move on. I've got a Celtic tattoo on the other side of it. But I'm not singling the guys out. I know that if you want to bring the Celtic fan base together, it has to be everyone. Not everybody likes the Green Brigade. Fact. Simple fact. That's all it is. The Saturday Board campaign has done absolutely hee-haw and will continue to do hee-haw, apart from harm the team on the pitch. Well, what do you suggest then? What do you suggest? Because this is what we need to. This is why there is the meeting tonight. This is why we're having the conversations to try and get as many views as possible. But coming out and saying, well, the fucking campaign's useless and it's just going to harm the team. It's all about open conversation. Put across your views, put across your opinion, put across what you think would work. Because if you don't, you're obviously just happy with the board being in place and happy with the board continuing at Celtic and happy for Celtic to be mediocre and happy for Michael Nicholson to continue doing transfer negotiations, which he is completely inept at doing. Completely inept. Simple as that. I hope they get this sorted because I'd really like to buy a new Celtic scene. Oh, supporting Celtic used to be about fun, excitement, ups and downs. Now it's stressful, draining. We do get some joy. Wait on the board doing something negative. Come on, St. Mirren tonight. Done your season around. You're trying to turn the fans against each other. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm trying to unite the fans. But there you go. Uh, the Green the Green Brigade and the board are now behaving like two Waynes. They both need their arse kicked. Start focusing on Celtic Football Club. Got to run through this. I'm going to just jump through them. Only option we have really is to wait on the guy popping his clogs. Oh yeah, yeah. Who Dermot Desmond? Do you know that you can live to around about 100? I think Desmond's only in his 70s. You could have 30 more years of Dermot Desmond. Baz spend the money on the B team. They won't even spend the money on the first team. Yeah, I know. I know this. I'm talking about the reality of the situation that the next manager. That was my hopes for the next manager, because the next manager has got a complete rebuild of the club. And some people will say you're talking nonsense. We've got the mainstay of a squad. Callum McGregor is in the midfield, holding midfield role, played out of position. Got players that will want to leave. Um, cheers, Chris. Um, I would love if we went down the route of Barcelona and Madrid. Fanon, you elect president, vote them out, keep them on their toes. The board are very comfortable in producing mediocre. The downside of that business model is financing debt. Those clubs are happy to be in 200 million in debt because they know that they have the fan base. Now this opens up a completely. This goes down a rabbit hole. They have a fan base that is bigger than Celtic's. Don't care what you say. You go into the Barcelona YouTube channel, 25 million subscribers on the Barcelona YouTube channel. The Barcelona YouTube channel does its own watch along for their own games. They have people in doing a watch along on their own football TV channel. They know that they can fill the stadium. When Barcelona knew that they needed to make more money, the only way that they could make more money, because the revenue streams, they had exhausted them all by getting as much. There was not much more sponsorship they could get in. So the only way that they could increase revenue dramatically was by completely demolishing the stadium and rebuilding it bigger so they could get more bums on seats. They know that they will fill 105,000 seated capacity stadium every single home game. Celtic would not. Celtic could add another 20,000 seats. It would mean another 20,000 people trying to come into Celtic Park. We do not have the capacity for that with parking. Celtic Park is in a terrible location for fans coming and going from games. You've then got people that leave early. Now, I did a watch along with the Hearts game, and at the same time as we were watching the Hearts game, I was watching the Elche Barcelona game. Elche were getting beat 3-1. With 3 minutes to go in each game, the Dundee United fans had disappeared. That's not unusual for Scottish football. Same happens at Celtic Park. The Elche Stadium, with 3 minutes to go, not one person had left their seat. Not one. The stadium was still full until the final whistle, and they were getting beat 3-1 by Barcelona. Completely different mindset. But you've got teams like Elche that aren't in the debt that Barcelona are, but they see the business model of Madrid and Barcelona is they know that they need a big working capital. They'll use debt as that working capital to be able to finance the running of the club. Celtic do not want to go down that road. They've been down that road of being in debt to the bank before, and it's Scottish banks that are all Masonic-led people generally don't like Celtic. And that's the issue. If you can find a Catholic bank owner that's willing to finance Celtic Football Club, then maybe we'll have something there. Oh wait, we've got Dermot Desmond, who basically has the same amount of money as a bank. What's that? We also have another unhappy player in his mind. Him and his representatives didn't go to speak to Forest. Don't believe the Daily Record. Do not believe the Daily Record. Mate, anybody has to the Forest on the boycott matches. This. Problem as bad as their yeah, exactly, mate. And that's what I want to stop. Um, the minority needs to be brought into line. And will that happen or not? The last time, and this is the irony of the situation, the last time that the minority did not fall into line and they were expelled from the Green Brigade and put up into a section in the top of the stand, and then they renamed themselves to the Boys rather than the SMV, who the Boys originally were named after. But anyway, Morning to you, Brian. Let's be honest, there ain't nothing that we can do to get rid of the boards. They are completely shameless. I think that you can. I think an ethical campaign of asking someone to ethically leave their job because they're incompetent in the eyes of the fans. I think that has a little bit of leeway in this day and age. It has to be consistent. It has to be. The board get away with it easy because the way that the campaign has been run it just now, you're only attending Celtic matches. There was a month, I think it was November, December, when there was hardly any games at Celtic Park. You've got a freebie. You've got a 4-week freebie. They don't care about online stuff. Don't know. But anyway. And breathe. And my coffee's went cold again. Surprise, surprise. It always does every single morning. Been on for an hour and 17 minutes this morning. It's the channel's going absolutely bonkers. I think I'll jump back on this afternoon once Martin O'Neill has done his interviews, and we'll dissect what and try and analyse how Martin O'Neill really is feeling, because I think that Martin O'Neill will feel like he's been through a fairground, you know. Be interesting. Right. If we get a new board members, what changes within the PLC? Nothing. Nothing really, because any business, any top business that's run like the way the Celtic Football Club should be run, um, there should be a Bible, and it should have a section that has standard operating procedures, so that anybody that comes into the company reads this document of the standard operating procedures of the business, so that anybody can fill the role. There has to be change at the top that changes the standard operating procedures. Dermot Desmond came out and said, the business model is fine. The business model isn't fine. We turned down 25 million for a player because we didn't have another player in. The standard operating procedures of the business has failed. That goes down a rabbit hole. Goes down a complete rabbit hole. So it has to be the SOPs that have changed. But will they do that? No, because that comes from way up. Cheers for that, Gary. I'm just trying to run through some more of these comments. Scott and Swan. You don't have to love how someone supports Celtic to stand with them on how the club is run, as a message that should be given at these meetings to bring everyone together for change. Yeah, this is true. Well, I'm trying to find a comment. I went to see Elche versus Barca a few seasons ago. There was some buzz with Green and White Stadium. It's a fantastic stadium, isn't it? Um, I loved Elche because it was my local club. Great atmosphere, singing, highly recommend it. It's a cracking stadium. Their season ticket, Quinny, is only 400. No, it's not. It's only 200 and odd quid. I think the cheapest season ticket is 200 and odd quid. I think a standard season ticket is something like €320, which is crazy. But the downside is when they play Barcelona and they play Madrid, they have to pay a premium. The tickets for the last game were 130 odd quid. Anyway, I might go down to Malaga, go down to the Malaga stadium, and then there's a few other stadiums that are close by. Anyway, that is me done and dusted for this morning. Thank you to everyone who has joined in the chat this morning. Apologies for not getting through all the comments. We will start to wrap the video up with some comments. Robbie Keane, what's he thinking about? The way Martin O'Neill's getting treated, he's no daft. Did we actually sell anyone last night? No. No, we didn't sell anyone and we didn't buy anyone. Did we end up with a positive in front of the net? Um, over the space of this season, yes, we have. But anyway, no sales, nope. Cheers for the beers, Quinny. And John Reed comes in with the super chat. Hail, hail, Baz from John Reed. That is me done and dusted. Thank you to everyone. It's been a fantastically busy morning, as I expected it to be. The views are phenomenal for this time of the morning. I have 4,500 views on this wee channel in just over an hour. What? On a Tuesday morning. Anyway, let's see what Martin O'Neill has to say to it today. Let's see what the Celtic Fans Collective comes to, if any decision that is made tonight. We'll be joining that. It'll be a long 2 hours, and then we'll have the normal Tuesday night video. Looking forward to the game tomorrow. We've never even started to think about the game tomorrow. Anyway, on that note, have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are all around the world.